yeah. Again, I just want to say for the record here, I'm not telling anyone what the minig is. I want to explain just the halacha. One of the most frustrating time I have before Pesach, because they make lists of medicines, and it gets worse and worse, because I don't know if you know the medical science, anyone a doctor here, they always have different alternative medicines, change different, and it's almost impossible to have everything on the list. Now let me explain a very simple Gemara. It's in the beginning of Kol Shu, a tiny piece of Gemara. The Gemara says that something that's, let me start this way. You know, Chazer, Nevela is not called Chazer Nevela if it's Nifsel Ma'achilas Adam. If a person cannot consume it, then it's not called food. Even though a dog could. You know, a dog, anyone who owns a dog, I've nothing wrong owning a dog, but dog owners told me that you walk a dog, and a certain type of a dog, they love rotten meat. You know, a guy told me my neighborhood says when he used to have a German Shepherd, he said it was the worst thing if you pass a place with rotten meat in the alley because the dog likes a certain type of rotten meat. Nifsel Machilas Adam is not called Nevela. So in a Torah, you're allowed to eat it if it's rotten that another person. By Pesach, the Gemara Darshans has to be Nifsad Ma'achilas Kelev. There's something that a dog will not eat. So the Gemara says once a dog would not, if Chumetz became so deteriorated, word in English, so fashimmelt, so bad, that even a dog wouldn't eat it, it's not called Chumetz. Now the Lashon HaGemara is, in the beginning of Kol Shu, that it's Mitte Ba'anua. The Rav Rishonim, I mean almost all the Rishonim learn, you're allowed to eat it. If you have Chumetz that's deteriorated, that a dog will not eat it, it's Nifsel Ma'achilas Kelev, then you're allowed to have a Nuah. Now Rav Rishonim hold, Lav Dafka Nuah, you're allowed to eat it? I'm allowed to eat it. The Rosh has a Chiddush. The Rosh is the only one that says that there's a din achshevei. Let me explain what achshevei means. Achshevei means that really it's rotten. But you went and ate it, you show that it's not so rotten. So with the Rabbanim, it's going to be also. The concept of achshevei. That means that really, you've made it chosh. Really, this is garbage, but but I'll eat it, and that's called achshevei. That is, again, so that is the Rosh's opinion. That means the majority of the Rishonim hold that there's no problem to eat Chumetz, that Nifsel Machilas Kelev. Comes the Rosh, he says, if you eat it, it's a Drban the Yisr, it's called achshevei. Now the truth is the Tur also brings it down, the Mechaber also brings it down. But it's a chumrah of the Rosh. Just to say for the record, the Pri Chodosh, now you have to know, the Rav gives incredible respect for the Pri Chodosh. He was like someone that, he argues, he says, the Rosh is a Chiddush, and he argues the whole concept of Achshevei, he disagrees with. Okay, we have a rule, we don't fight the Shulchan Aruch. The Shmachaba is Soisim Lahachme. Now, the question is, Ba'achila. Now the question is, what is a pill? So let me explain to you what happened by the medicine. Well, what's going on with the medicine? Medicine, a medicine, it's getting less and less problem. But medicine is powder. We need a binder. Any chemist over here in the audience? You need a binder, to hold it together. You ever notice that, the Tylenol, they have a different binder. If you're old enough to remember, in the 70s, there was a guy who put into Tylenol, I forgot the name of the poison, People died, that's why you can't buy any more capsules, and it's sealed. The kids are, a medicine needs to have a binder, otherwise it turns into powder. So mele, they bind it sometimes with flour, starch, or sometimes with cornstarch. So mele, it turns out maybe it's chametz. If anyone has a dog, had a dog, grew up with the dog, didn't grow up with the dog? You grew up with a dog? Tell me, would a dog eat medicine? The guy in my shoe tells me, if you want to, whenever his dog needs antibiotic, he runs the other way. You're right, and fool him. Yeah, because...
you use the word, very important, deteriorated. In other words, when it says that it's not edible by a dog, does it mean that it's deteriorated and rotten and therefore not eat it? Or it's the question, he doesn't like that taste.
No, that's good enough.
That's good enough.
That means if you put a little flour into the dust of some chemical, no one's going to eat it. It's a small part.
Flour a dog's not going to eat.
Yeah, flour is not yet, of course. But we're talking about now it's mixed into a medicine. Flour, you can make something out of it, right? It's mixed into a medicine, there's nothing to do now. Let's say you take breadcrumbs, you mix it into the medicine.
And then flour is not hummus.
Well, no, that's not so simple. I'll explain that in a minute. But let me just talk. But you take bread. The Gemara talks about such a thing too. You used to take bread and let it crush, hard and crush it. Point is that it's mixed into the medicine. The Mechaber gives such a case. Mechaber says the illusion of Mechaber is if you take a little bit of chametz and put in turkey, whatever it's called, it's nifsal, and you can't eat it. It's not a problem. It's not any more problem. The kids of the flour, it's like taking flour and putting into manure. You know what I mean? Finished. You took the flour, you put it into some chemical substance which no dog would want to eat it. Same, so Mamela, Rav, I don't know anyone. Honestly, from the G'doi L'Achreinim, the Chazanish, and the B'chaim Oizer, and the Moshe, and all the G'dolim with all Tshuvas on it, all held there is no problem taking medicine on Pesach. And vitamins too. Even though people say you're not allowed to take. Because even if there be chometz, it's nifsal machilas keler.
That's not the binder, you're talking about the substance of the
No,
binder.
substance is never. No. That's never that. But even, let's say it is, but it's nifsal also machilas keler. So, let me just finish. So, it's nifsal machilas keler. So, you don't eat. Achsheve means, what is the concept of achsheve? Yeah, I'm eating it, I'm machshavit. And I say, machshav in English, so... No, you make it choshev. You show for you it's not so terrible. That is very good, but you want to eat it. But you take a medicine, you swallow the whole thing. You're not doing it because, I get schmack, pill over here. You're eating it because you got to take it, unfortunately. There's no, that's not just my idea, everyone holds that. If you swallow complete, yeah, but if you swallow a piece of food that way, it's not kosher like derech achila. If you swallow, a guy swallows a piece of bread, not chewing it, that's not kosher like derech achila. You know what I'm saying?
I heard this from a big MOU.
Yeah, but you swallow a big piece of thing that. He meant to say it's nifsad. He meant to say it's called something. He meant to say it's nifsad. That's what he meant to say. So that's why medicine is not a problem. So I asked about him. So I asked once the people who make the list, and he says, look in that sefer, look in Nitta Gavriel, a famous sefer. He doesn't bring anyone. He brings, finally found someone who says it's maybe Kedai to be mach. I want to explain a concept.
The whole book comes from the Nitta Gavriel,
but no, the whole book, no. He couldn't find. And he just, let me explain halacha. I want to explain something very important in halacha, in Klal Yisrael. There were many gedolim. No question about it. But a certain gedolim were the pillars in halacha. The Yosef writes in the Geduma. I'm going to explain something. Why did Yosef says, when I write the sefer, I'm going to choose the Rif, Rambam, and the Rosh. Why did I choose? So when I was very young, I thought he chose because he thought they were the greatest. He doesn't say that. He says in the Akdoma, the reason he chose them, because Kol Beis Yisrael nisham aleim. That's an expression. Klal Yisrael rely on them. They're the pillars. Whenever anyone has a problem, they always want to know what the Rif, Rambam, and Rosh do. So Mamela says the B'si Yosef, I always looked at these three, and I took two of the three. The B'si Yosef. Two. I don't remember, that's not my memory, but all right, that's not, I remember the B'si Yosef. The point is that it could have been other Gedolim. So the Ramah comes, as I remember the Darkei Moshe, the Agdoma says, very nice, you're Svarti. We Ashkenazim, when we have a problem, we're looking the Mordechai, the Gus Ashni. As Klal Yisrael, we rely on certain Paiskim, which was accepted. The last few generations were Noidi Yehuda, it was the Shulchan Aruch, it was, some Sefer, in Semach Tzedek. It was Gedolim, that entire Klal Yisrael wants to know what their opinion is. It's like seeked and learned what is their opinion. You bring me a sefer that you found printed, but you don't know who the mechaber is, and he writes there should be like chile machma, and halacha has no value. I'm just explaining. So really, medicine is not a problem. Now the same thing goes for any. Let's face it, they have a shguch on the soaps, the most ridiculous things. Oh, the makeup. A woman called me up all the time. I have a niece. Yeah, I could say it's a problem of mine. I have a niece who has a store in Monsey who sells makeup. Whatever the name is, and they sell, right? I think I connected the two of you, sell makeup. So she calls me up, my nephew in Monsey is a highly gestut, and everything needs ashgacha. It's ridiculous. I mean, a dog, I cannot pronounce it, but the high school mascara, a dog is eating mascara, a dog would need mascara, a dog would need lipstick. Now, lipstick, I'll soon see why you should be machmer. But no, whatever it's called, blush, and any of these things, any of your things that you sell, would a dog eat it? Absolutely not. So let's say in it somehow, they put in chametz. Hello, it's nifsal. Now, I understand lipstick, you should check the list, because lipstick is on the lips. And mele, there is a chum the mechaber says that since it has a good taste, you might swallow it. Or mouthwash, because they put alcohol, which is... Yeah, it's soap on the dishes, it gets washed off. But you want to be mach, you don't say achshve and abliya, but you want to be mach with soap on the dish. But I've seen on laundry detergent on the list. Take a look at that list, right? On the laundry detergent it says, but yes, man, ridiculous. Shampoo, hello. I know everyone agrees it's not a problem. Everyone agrees Hanua is not a problem. So all of this, I don't know. It says on, that means it's on. What was I saying again? Yeah, no, everyone else agrees that's a no. Now, toothpaste, it's kedai to check the list, because that they see what the problems with toothpaste is. They sometimes add alcohol, sometimes they add. Most often, the add alcohol it's not grain alcohol, but once in a while, for some reason, let me tell you a story to just.
But how does it bring alcohol to a dog and it's not eating the grain?
Alcohol, no, but alcohol itself is a chshivas. We humans would drink it. Drunk, take alcohol. That was a machlokish of Yankov Kamenetsky and their Moshe. Moshe Feinstein held that perfume, even though a dog would not eat, but a yois the drunk figured out in World War II how to take out the alcohol context of alcohol. They figured out how to separate it, so he held you have to sell it. And Yankov Kamenetsky said, just because there's a few drunk, it doesn't make it. But Moshe held that, people know how to do it, but. So I'm saying that's a chumrah. But so they put alcohol in the toothpaste sometimes. I'll tell you a very frightening story. The Gay Lubavitch. This must have happened about 15 years ago. This Rabbi Levi, do you know when he was nifted, this Rabbi Levi? About 15 years ago. Yeah. So what happened? There was a frightening story. What happened? He gave hashgacha on vinegar. Okay. What happened was right before Pesach, Rabbi Heinemann's called up this company of vinegar, and he asked him, "What type of vinegar are you using? Grain? You can make vinegar from grain. You can make that." Rabbi, this year it's not a problem. Why is it not a problem? We use wine vinegar. What? What happened was, a year, maybe 2 years before that, the government, American government, banned Italian wine to come into the country because they put into the wine wood alcohol, and we held it was unhealthy, and they ignored our warning. So the American government went and they froze. No Italian wine was allowed to come into the country. So they had millions of gallons of wine. So they had nothing to do with it. Americans drink a lot of wine, believe it or not. So because they do not, so they went, and to cut the losses, they turned it into vinegar and flooded the market. Now, vinegar wine is incredibly expensive. Who in the world would have thought you buy the $2 of vinegar is going? You ever looked in the store? Wine vinegar is 5 times the price. I once then looked at it, but they didn't want to have a total loss. They did it. So Nebuch, I don't know if you know, Nebuch, from that he passed away. He was so aggravated about the story, Nebuch, the Rabbi Levi. After the story, what?
The younger brother, the younger one.
He was young, yeah.
Yeah, he would have been 42 years old.
I thought it was his father.
He was Rabbi Levi's
Father was Nifta.
The
The old man, right? The old man. I remember the old man passed away. He wasn't so old. He was about 60, 62, something. Yeah, he passed away from. And the emissaries, this is like you can't blame anyone. There's always things that could happen. Such a thing. You check it out each once in a while. So you don't have to be choshid. I mean, that you have to mashkir to meet in our vinegar companies. And such a thing is so remote, like, but coming back, I wanted to say, so all food, all medicines, and all wife's makeup. The only thing you look at is lipstick. The only thing you look at is the toothpaste, because the toothpaste could sometimes have, vinegar, not vinegar, alcohol, which could be a problem. That's really or perfume. That's just about it.
So the something that you're not going to eat.
Anything you're not going to be allowed to have a new one.
Alcohol, you don't put that for
Yeah, you don't have to worry. So bekitza, the bleach and the clothing you wash, or and the plates is a great chomer. Let intim saloim pamalev has what chomer says how zugen has chometz. Okay, I mean once it's nifsel machilas kelev, no dog would eat it. So even though you're afraid maybe something went into the plate, you don't say on that achshevei. No one, you don't. You know why I like this piece of fish? There's a little pamalov in the fish. Shmaka pamalov. So it's a cornstarch, and they're worried about the first napkin. Now you heard this, a dog would eat it. I mean, well. Doesn't make sense. Like some chumras don't make sense. So I just, you want to be machmir, isn't that? But it is, it doesn't, see, chumras have to have a mahalach. Today became chumras upon chumras upon chumras. Why do I like to explain this? Because once you hear what is a chumra, what is a locha, you look at it differently. You're not so stressed. Nothing happened. One of the people over here, I remember, who says, after I heard your shir, I understand if a spoon falls on the floor, it's not the end of the world. I think Chabad, I understand, the spoon falls on the floor, it's the end of the world. Nothing happened. You want to be machmer, gesundheit, I have no problems with chametz. But once you know what it is, this is a loch and this is a chumrah.
So, Rabbi, you're saying if a man has a cologne that he wears during Pesach, it's a problem?
Cologne is on the hair, on the beard.
It's a perfume.
Yes, so why that shouldn't be? It's a perfume, yeah. you should check the list. According to the Moshe, it's kedai to be machmer. Because again, alcoholics learned how to separate. Now, I was told it's miltze de lo shchicha, I would say it in English. It's very uncommon that you use grain alcohol. Grain alcohol is very expensive. And all these things, if you would ask Josh, he would tell you they use the cheapest things. No one is interested in buying grain alcohol and put it onto the cologne or put it into the, they find the cheapest of cheapest. Just, they'll make it look expensive. The glass is going to look expensive. And the box it comes up looks 10 times more expensive.
At the end of the day, the concept came in the 30s from Prohibition or 20s from Prohibition that they might take. Nowadays, no one's doing it. You're not buying a bottle of alcohol for $50 to drink it. You're going to go to the store and buy a bottle for $3.
That's true. That's what Yankov held. That it's not.
But it's drinkable.
But it's not. It's not. No one would drink it. No one. It's like everything you could separate theoretical today, in the chemist could do. I mean, they're not.
The Tylenol pill could also somehow probably be
Yes,
separated
everything could be separate, but that's not the normal thing. It's not a normal thing.
So we have to get a new.
Just check the list. There's a list you could look on the internet.
Medicine, if I do a doctor, you can think of antibiotics.
No problem. The only problem is the children's medicine that they drink. Some that has a taste and that. Which most of the time is not a problem. You look at the list. But that's anything that has a taste, chewable things.
These lists, how do they know? They write a letter, they get a letter back and says, there's no green fries. They don't have a rush yet that goes down there.
The deity is a waste of time and a waste of nervin. Because I get the phone calls, it's not on the list, what should I do? It's impossible to have a list of everything, that? People tell me, but...
They make no list on the computer, trying to get these bigger Shiurim
it's a waste of time. So now you see how not everything everyone does is correct in Chumras neither. Just like Lashon Hara, we all know it's not correct. Laida, everyone does it, and it doesn't make it correct. Yeah, but over here, what bothers me, that many people think Taka. They don't. I remember the old generation, the senior generation, when I came to my shul, I had to hack in the heads. You're allowed to take medicine Pesach. There were many people taking heart medication, who knows what. They wouldn't take medication. It's Hello, I mean, it's not even a... No, because that's bread. That's be nifson achilas kelev. The bread became not edible for a dog. You put the flour into manure. You put the flour into a cat, one of these, yeah. You put the flour. Yeah, ask anyone a dog owner will tell you. The dog. No. I asked a lot of dog owners, right? You have to fool the dog. A guy told me that I have a guy in my shul, has 2 dogs, says me, when I have to give antibiotic, the dog knows and runs the other way, and we have to cheat it by putting in peanut butter, right? You put in.
This concept of boil achilas kelev means that the dog has to willingly
eat it.
Want to eat it.
The dog, and if it's a small dog, chews around it and spits out the pill. You own the dog, right? Didn't happen to you with your dog? Yeah, the guy told me, the dog owner told me.
All supplements, all vitamins.
All vitamins, says Halacha is okay.
So one of the things I've heard is that it's okay, but it's better to get a new package during Pesach because there could be hummus in the old,
It's a separate issue, that's a separate issue. You have to know when you take your medicine, kids. That's true, that any clothes, even paper goods, and now on these paper cups, I tell my wife, even though I don't have small children, but they come during the year, and you never know. Maybe the children took it out and took a cup of the chametz in your hand, and the chametz got into the cup, and you have children at home. But I'm just talking about in the halacha problem. Okay. And any other? I could go move on.
Yeah. So those paper cups also have something like
Paper cups. We use paper cups. Foam cups. You could also use.
The Dixie cups, there's a coating.
So what? It's a wax coating. That's all it is.
Even though I just found out, everyone says it's okay.
It's okay.
Even the people who go by the books, I had punkte schrijven, the last day I called up to OU.
Yeah, no, all the cups are good.
And it's the plates not good, you're saying that's not good, the plates.
Same thing. The plates, they claim that sometimes it could be, sometimes it's possible to have a kidney is there. Starch. No, you can never see it, and it's such a mashu that it's not a real achila. So how could it be? What? So
Not even a problem with hummus, it's a problem with.
kidneys. That's it. They with starch.
That's the masha who applies to.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
How strict do we have to be with kidneys?
No, we Ashkenazim don't eat kidneys. Like, this is a good question. Many people have young children. Someone called me today where child, and that's, very sensitive stomach. Child is about 3 years old. Yeah, you get us rice. You get this. They sell kosher rice. But of Pesach, they do sell it already now, and with a separate pot. That's also chumrah, but that's the minig. Someone needs. I have a lady who every year calls me. She is super allergic to any grains. She only eats one kazayis matzah the first night seder, because she has a terrible reaction. So the rice, I tell her she should do the first night, but the rest of the Pesach, she has nothing to eat. Absolutely nothing to eat. So, she eats rice, and she, because for choyle, they never was the minik. But otherwise, this is a minik. I think I explained last week over here. It's a minik which was accepted in Kal Yisrael. You can't change it. Did I say the story with the Sephardi? Married an Ashkenazi, married a Sephardi. So if the wife marries the husband, she has to follow the husband. But doesn't the other way around? Doesn't. There is no heter in the world. I'm not saying this la halacha, but I find it interesting in Chabad. Once you are a Sephardi, you become a Chabad. You don't eat rice. I mean, there's nothing to do. You could be a Chassid and nothing to do with halacha. Halacha is your Sephardi. But anyways, Sephardi could eat his menik. His menik was to eat rice and beans. And you guys ate rice and beans? Oh, just one bean. Yeah, I heard this. Some Moroccans don't, but others. Yeah, but the Syrians do.
Almost everybody eats rice.
Yeah, rice.
That's Moroccan.
Except Morocco.
For rice. Just for rice, not for kidney.
But for kidney, some the Spanish eat, and the others don't, because in one language it's hummus, which is like hametz, and another gabanzo, which has no connection to hametz.
All right. Anyway, so
Wine vinegar is mutter.
wine vinegar is not mutter. Needs ashgacha.
It's wine.
It's wine. It was wine turned it to vinegar.
I heard somebody once say Chinese, that sounds like comments.
Can you tell us what things don't need? Is there anything that doesn't need a kosher based on hash?
Well,
Extra virgin olive oil doesn't need.
yeah, that's no. I'll explain that. I explained this last year. Say it again. Let me. This is a good question. The minig by the Ashkenazim, not the Sephardim, but the Ramuz says the minig among the Ashkenazim was we didn't eat a produced food unless it was checked that on the premises there was no problem of chametz. Now we do know that there's we do know for the fact that you go to any company, any of the mishgichim will tell you they are paranoid of cleanliness. They are literally paranoid. Because they're not because you're chametz, they're paranoid of a lawsuit. You know what happened a year ago? I pay attention to these things because it's in the Halacha. A year ago, exactly, there was a peanut company that was infected with peanut butter with salmonella was the worst one. People died. It was the other bug, E. coli, and he lost his whole company, and he's waiting for a trial for manslaughter. He lost $100 million company. This is the greatest fear for all production, because they could hold you liable for manslaughter if something happens. So I went once, the OU asked me many years ago to go look at a company for an emergency. So I came in, I'm very tall. They wouldn't let me in until they found a gown fitting my size. Come on, it doesn't have to be a langgerekkel, the gown. It could be, they wouldn't let me in because and they put you all over this, and just, it's not because they are just, so we made it. But the minig is and that you make sure it's checked. So many companies, the OU, the OK, give a list which they checked out. We know this is no problem. You don't get the OK, look at the list. There's they don't give a booklet, the OK?
But okay, I'm just, well, yeah.
Right, but let me ask you, but, all year long, the olive oil company, they make the exact same olive oil. The OU comes by for Pesach to check it out. It's the
Same
same.
thing.
They give a half sure, but it costs 10 times the amount.
No, it doesn't. That's not true. Not the OU. Not the OU. The OU doesn't cost 1 penny more.
And they don't even write down. Let's say it doesn't have a hechsher. Meaning, say there's product that was produced, a year ago, and they're selling it now. It doesn't have the hechsher for Pesach, but now the hechsher. Could you buy that? Even though
Al pi halacha, you could buy it. But I suspect the question is how much the minig was. So I claim it seems on the Chayim the minig was to double check. So I will look in the list. The OU checks it and the OK checks it. If they checked it out, then I speak to Mashgiach. Like you said, most of these products are no problem because let's say the oil company only does oil. They don't do anything. They do oil. Some mailers, and it's not more expensive. And that is the highway robbery. What they do in New York, where they put the shguch on it, it's all are guilty. I'm not afraid to say it on tape. Let me tell you a story that happened. I'm at a wedding here, and a Chassidish guy comes over to me from Williamsburg. Do I know who's the head of the OU over here? Who's darfst to this, and what do you need to know? He says, I'll tell you what I need to know. We buy candies from a wholesaler from New York, and we put our Heilige stample, we charge, he didn't say that, but he says that's what you're doing really. Buys from a wholesaler, go in Manhattan, who sells them candies, and they rely on the OU over here. So I'm here for a wedding, I want to cut out that wholesaler, so I just want to find out where the company is. So he tells me. I want to find out just where the company is, so I want to connect with the OU, so tell me where's this company. So go straight to the company, we'll cut out the middleman in Manhattan. So I said to him, in Yiddish, I said to him, what you're telling me is, I know this is an old story, you're telling me that all they do is take the candies and repackage and rely on the OU. But this is true with all the shgochas. Very many of them, that's all they do. Very many know, many could have a problem, but very many just, lie to the public, which is a scandal. It's just push it to scandal. I used to have a mishgiach, Alta Bucha used to eat in my house every Friday night. I have a mini Friday night, every child has to thank Hashem for something. Keep the children at the table. It's a powerful minig. I say at my home like this: we have a minig, we kvetch all week long. That's our minig. And our home, we have a very makpid at our minig. It's a nice minig. We kvetch all week long. Shabbos, there is no kvetching. Everyone has to thank Hashem. So this mashgiach would come Friday night, and him I would say, without names, tell me one of the stories. He used to work for the OU with a big man, and tell me without names, just what goes on there. Einik Shabbos. But 90%, he would tell me, they would call him and they wouldn't come down. But the truth is, they go around, the OU, the OK, they go around, and they all rely on each other. The OK relies on the OU, they have trust among them. They check it out, and he told me 90% of the places is never a problem, because they are just a complicated other situations. So yes, I would just, for myself, as many, check the OU. If it's on the list in the OU, you could buy the virgin oil, whatever you mentioned.
Yeah, I remember reading in more than one list saying that generally extra virgin olive oil is no problem for Pesach. That's what I remember.
That's okay. Then you could use it.
Let me ask, at what point it's a little bit in general, but at what point does the minute become so crazy that we decide to revisit I'm driving so crazy there. It's like, okay.
Especially when the facts
You
change.
should have been here last week and 2 weeks ago.
I would maybe
You're getting penalized now. Skip your question. Go watch online.
So Rabbi, basically you're saying is that if it's on the list, I could rely on their hechsher from this Pesach to buy the product that is not marked. Let's just say the store sells
100%.
And they write it, that they're all used in public. They write, you don't have to have Pesach. Our OU is
Yeah,
originally.
they checked it out. They checked it out. When the OU writes that means they checked it out.
Where are these lists?
You could get it online.
What do? You go to the website?
I'm not a bookie online, so I asked Rabbi Nathanson is a Chabad shliach, and he
He's coming here tomorrow
He gave me a, what's the name? Every year drops off a booklet, but you could get. I'm not so booking online, but you guys are.
We're getting for everyone here. We're getting it tomorrow night.
He's and I used to speak to him a lot about these products, and that's what I'm saying. Now, answer. What's your name? Zalman. You know, we spoke about it last week, but briefly again. You know, the mini was in Europe. You have to remember how you lived in a shtetl. Who, what, how, no one knew what was produced, when and where. Today, we know what is produced, and we could align, because if they cheat, they could get arrested. They have a great loss of money. It's like, look at this peanut company, went out of business, many such stories, because of their negligence. And it's, you know, people always ask this question, there is no foul-proof, say in English? That's what they're foolproof. There is no foolproof system. 2 Adam, the Torah says, could kill someone. But the 2 Adam, the Gemara says, could be false. And the Gemara brings the story of Shimon ben Shutach. They hired 2 false witnesses and said his son worshipped the Avodah Zarah, and they had no choice but to kill him. There's no, in this world, before Mashiach comes, there is no foolproof system. But the Torah gave us a system. The Torah said, when there's mercies, we checked it, and they're afraid to switch things, that's good enough. So they didn't use products. I explained last week, everyone eats matzah. Matzah is the biggest problem of chametz, Rabbi Sai. And it's produced, and we eat it. There's no reason that you can add oil and sugar and salt and coffee and So garlic wasn't used because they used to cut it. Garlic is to do with charif. But if they give us gocha on it, that means they planted. And people, I have a brother-in-law who has a hobby, he loves to plant. He has garlic, he plants his own garlic. You know, it's not a big thing. People who... It used to be a problem, but you should get it with hashgacha because, you know...
When you buy the garlic, the garlic comes closed.
Yeah, but they used to put flour on it. To keep it dry. They used to put flour on it. Let me talk about it interesting. You know, we kasher... I'm going to, don't get frightened what I'm going to say. We kasher everything, right? Yeah. With the stone, it's like, just like matzah is the biggest problem. You know the biggest problem with kashering anything in this? Is your mouth. Your mouth has fillings. It's cheres today. Any dentist over here? You know, it's not, it's porcelain. Or the new, whatever they put in a new chemical, and it's probably cheres.
Or amalgam is more metal.
It's silver, but it's a metal. But today it's worse. They don't put metal anymore into the silver. They put today a deposit, which is made. It seems like a cheres type of a thing. It's dentures, you know, that you could soak. It's plastic dentures. But I'm talking about. But let's talk about your own teeth. I really don't know how that works.
Rabbi Tauber, next year you will be at a place where we can pull the teeth out.
You never had gas for this go in your mouth.
Of course you do. Of course you do. But yeah, you have very hot things in your mouth. Every person has. You had a hot, you know, your mouth tolerates heat better than your fingers. Did you know that? Speak to a dentist. Your mouth tolerates heat.
Okay, so new.
Nothing. What I do is Erev Pesach, I drink something very hot. And Erev Pesach, drink something hot. And I tell people, if you want to do the thing, don't eat 24 hours of hot pizza before. Erev Pesach is Monday, so Sunday morning to Monday morning, do not eat hot pizza. Hot chametz. That's a new chumrah. You could say the rabbi is not only saying kulas over here. He said a chumrah. I don't have an answer. I've asked this to a lot of, since I'm a young person, I was asked this to a lot of people. Yeah, terrace is a serious problem. Yeah, that's a serious problem.
Is it possible, let's say it's Friday night, Shabbos is coming up, so let's say somebody wants the kitchen kosher and Pesach, but she wants to eat the challah, right? But we already have dishes, Pesach dishes. Let's say you go to the living room to eat the challah. dominating, all right? But she was asking the question. She says, take the, so then we ate the challah, we go and eat the chicken with the fork, with the recipe fork. Is it chametz because of the
No, the best thing to do is paper.
Paper, yes.
That's what we do.
Decided.
Yes.
I said I didn't have to ask the Shabbos, but can something become chametz?
We don't want to mix Pesach dishes with chametz. I mean, that says in Shulchan Aruch is a meaning not to do. That does say in Shulchan Aruch.
Are you saying like if I eat a piece of meat and then I want to eat milk 6 hours later?
That's different.
My feelings have
You should know the G'dayla Achrein, the Marsham. You heard about Marsham was the biggest Pesach in his day. He has a hard time explaining feelings. Why is no problem with B'chul? He has a very hard time. He's only the answer.
The reason why you wait 6 hours is because of rocks.
That's feeling has nothing to do. We wait 6 hours because the Rambam says Busa ben Shenayim. But we're not talking Busa ben Shenayim. You had a hot piece of meat that you chewed, so the bli of the meat went into your metal thing, porcelain, or today's fillings are porcelain, and now the Marsham is asked this kasha, and the Marsham says we are relying, maybe that Keli Sheni is not, this is called the iri from a Keli Sheni, and we have to be soimer that the piece of meat is, even though it's hot, and the Mashal, the Mashal holds that a hot piece of meat is called a Keli Rishon. So the Masham says, obviously we didn't take the Chumrah seriously, and otherwise we won't be able to eat.
How far do you carry that concept? If a person has a body part, a heart,
that's not a problem. Once it passes your mouth, it's not a problem.
So it's in my mouth.
Yeah, but the teeth is no. The teeth is.
Before you swallow it.
Yeah, teeth is. That's a problem. Everyone agrees it's a problem. Can't you the answer to see? Busa b'cholov is easier because it's a iri. You understand? An iri. But we paskin b'chometz even a keli shlishi keli revi. That's the problem. Right.
Why is Busa b'cholov easier?
We paskin me'ikra din even a keli sheni. This is called a keli sheni. So if by mistake, I always tell people, if this is a fleshiga mug, and I put in hot water and milk into this is only keli sheni, nothing happened. Mikra din. We pass him ikra din. We just call the keli sheni because this is the urn is a rishon. This is called the sheni, and by sheni we pass him it doesn't cook, it does not mafli ikra din. Of course they're machmir, but ikra din. So maybe it's not a problem. But on Pesach we machmir even a keli revi that it have mashritz bavleya. So that's the problem. Blood is human blood. You're allowed to drink. It's only not a science also. Nothing wrong with human blood. You're not allowed to drink human blood. That's not a sign. There's no issa. Yeah, there's no sign. No. Any other? What was that? I had another. Sorry, I was. Oh yeah. Cholamayid. Yeah. Yes.
I think you addressed a few weeks ago self-cleaning ovens, but I don't have a self-cleaning oven. Is it just enough to clean it out very well and put it on the highest degree?
Put on the highest degree for 4 hours and it's perfectly clean. If you want to really be machmeh, put it in water and let it evaporate. That's another chumrah if you want. You make that says in Shulchan Aruch. You make sure it's ein ben yoyma, clean ein ben yoyma. You put it ein ben yoyma means you take the keli, which is we say right, we could kasher and you have to know hilchas hechsher but that's a longer yichas. You kasher with the ein ben yoyma. Always kasher. Make sure.
Because some people have these inserts that is holding with the oven inserts, the metal that goes around the whole thing.
Why is that chumrah a little bit interesting? Again, if you're machmeh, enjoy the chumras. But let me explain something. I explained it last week. Let me explain something. In the good old days, ovens you saw the picture of the ovens, it's a dome, like a dome. It was made out of bricks, because bricks naturally hold an enormous heat. So the Shulchan Aruch says, how do you kosher an oven for Pesach, for matzahs? We're not talking about I'll explain to you why our oven is not a problem. They put the bread on the floor of the oven. We don't put bread on the floor. We put it into we are so wealthy, we have disposable things, we live in a new world. But they would put the bread. So how do you kasher? It says in the Machaba, you fill it up, you fill it with coals. So the Magaram asks a very simple kasher, but doesn't the heat rise to the top? And the zeya, chometz the gezeya? How does that come? So Magaram says, kabaloi kach poltoi. That means just like it went in this way, will go out. So you fill up with coals, and the heat goes up to the roof. Just like it went up the roof, it can come down. That's how Klal Yisrael ate their matzahs for 2,000 years. Now, our ovens is a lot better. No one puts the food onto the how's it called, the grates, what it's called, the rack. No one puts the food on the rack. You're worried maybe it's spilled, but no one puts food on the rack. Even teenagers don't do it. You know, I have a Kanai Nahara. You know, I have 8 daughters, Kanai Nahara.
Why do you put bread on the rack? Where on the rack toast?
It's my children, when they want to toast, the Motzei Shabbos toast, it's always, they put a sheet there. Just, you know, that's a, yeah, it's, I'll explain, even if you do it, but I'm explaining, so kashering, the derech is to put it in the food. The only thing that you're worried, but what are you really worried about the oven? About the heat rising. That, the Shulchan Aruch says, Kabbalah kach paltoi. So you're worried about, maybe you put the bread onto the thing. Or maybe it's spilled, lakshan spilled onto the rack, it's called. So that is the best of the best. You want to be really be machmer. Now let me explain to you why it's halacha not a problem. First of all, we paskin that if you put something dry onto another dry thing, it doesn't travel one thing to another. You know what I'm saying? If I put a metal on the grate, so I put a Pesach metal on that, it doesn't come through. Second of all, each time it's there, it gets singed and burned and burned. Now some say, I explained it 2 weeks ago, that Rabbi claims that he showed me, it's not right, but he showed me from the Marshab many years ago, he showed me that the Marshab held, it was Medaik in the Shulchan Aruch that you need libun. So if you want to make, our things you can't make libun, because nothing turns red, you know that, our metal. If you put a torch on it, what's going to happen, it's going to melt. It's not going to melt. And if you need a torch, then you cannot torch it. Because a klal and halachas agolas kelim, if you're afraid it's going to get ruined, then you can't even kasher it, because we'll say you're not going to do a good job. So because me'ikra din, it gets enormously hot. And that is called, most poskim hold it's okay. Now Chabad says you got to torch it. I always argue with the Chabad rabbis, if you got to torch it, no one does a good job. I watch people torching, they're so nervous, not too long, because... So if you want to change the racks, that's a mukim to be machmad the rack.
Why can't you give the racks to me? I have a self-cleaning oven.
Yeah, you can give it, no problem.
Then you'll give it to someone who likes
Give a self-cleaning oven, no problem. Yes.
Give your racks to me, that's in my oven, and your racks are kosher. You say it doesn't have to be legal, but
Can you speak up, Aaron?
if you get it red, how long does that be red for?
For a minute, but it doesn't get red. Our metal doesn't get red. Most of the time, it doesn't get red. It melts. Gets red and starts deforming. I watch people do it. You ever did it? Yeah? Right, it doesn't deform?
There's a jingle on here, that's for his parnasa, he used to do it. And he is not, he in our family. So when he does live in Chumrah,
Yes, a guy told me, I teach, I give a shin in jets. So one of the shlichim in jets tells me, I forgot his name, tells me every 2 years they buy a new oven because of the libn. And they have a metal sink, and every 2-3 years they have a shlich also does it for them in Crown Heights, ruins the sink.
it deforms.
At least they're doing it right.
No, but you know, the sink for sure you don't need to, we spoke about it. All right, any other question about Pesach before I speak about Chalamoid?
One more,
Yeah.
which is, it doesn't apply this year, but the year when Erev Pesach falls out on Shabbos. So, there's, the problem is obvious that we have to eat the challah on Shabbos, and yet you have to be rid of it, before
step on it. That's once a year you're allowed to step on crumbs. Twice in 90 years you're allowed to step on crumbs.
Okay.
That's it says in Shiurim. They used to step on it.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I don't think you ever gave the Cheerio story. I don't think we got the
Oh, the LA Times. Okay. So, what happened about 10 years ago, the LA Times, that's when I found out that every one of my shoe gets the LA Times delivered. Because in Halacha, you're not allowed to have it delivered. Even because it's you telling him to deliver in Shabbos, we spoke about it. Anyways, what happened was, it was the first or second day Pesach, and they picked up the time, and there was a sample of the Cheerios. Now, according to many Pesachim, once you pick it up, you clean it. Many Pesachim say that's not true.
Even if you have no intent.
Yeah, that many are.
Want to be
Yeah, you don't want. So that's a big machlokes. That's why I was going to wait. I was going to look it up. The Rivash, I remember well. I'm saying this, but Zakurin, I haven't seen it for many years, but I know there's a Rivash, and we're going to Avraham and the Shulchan Aruch about it too. Do you need hepech kavana? You know what hepech kavana means? Saying I don't want to be koina, or is it enough that no one in the right mind wants it? Some hold that just the fact no one in the right mind wants it. If you have the most smallest inkling, this chometz, you're not going to pick it up. It's like you imagine the guy put manure into the newspaper and you pick it up. You wanted the manure. I mean, tell a from guy this, that by mistake you bought chometz. It's chalish. Who wants to buy chometz? So some hold no. You have to have in mind not to be koina. So I said, it's anyways. The din is you find chometz and yantiv, you cover it. And I said, just Matzah Pesach, either flush it down the toilet or burn it. And that's what they did. Matzah the first Yantiv. No, we don't. We cover it on Yantiv. It's Muktzah. And if you have a shiksa, it says you could do it with a shiksa. But you have to go with her to the toilet and make sure she flushes it down, says Shulchan Aruch.
You can answer directly?
Yeah. It's a mitzvah. It's a shuz to shuz mitzvah. Okay, Chalamoid. Let me explain about Chalamoid, the way I say. Chalamoid is, there's a rule in Halacha. Whenever it's very thin, the Halacha, people are very mezalzel in it, make it cheap. Mishalosh hara. Sometimes it's a mitzvah, sometimes it's a avera, so we don't bother, unfortunately. The Chalamoid is a dover, it means the rule is if it's a dover of it, and it's not a ma'isa uman, dover means it's a great loss, you're allowed to work a Chalamoid. If it's not a dover of it, someone just asked me today, what was it, forgot what he asked me, it was such a busy day. I remember telling him it's a doverot. He told me if he doesn't, I don't know. He sells nash to all the vendors, and says if I don't go and get people, I'm going to lose customers. So there's a very interesting Rosh in Hilchos Chalamoid. You know what the Rosh Panusa was? We thought he was a Rebbe, he had Panusa. No, he was a bank. He was a bankier, a banker, and the Rosh kept his bank open Chalamoid. He said because the customers were going to go, the goyim were going to go to another, my competition, to a different one, my steady customers. So that's called the dover ovid. Losing a customer is called the dover ovid. But just because you're not earning money, that's what Chalamoid is all about. Not earning money. Lawyers ask me where they're really pressed, working on a case where they really things got to get done. That could be dover ovid. Just because you, it's nice to go to work.
You work for the government, you only have a certain amount of vacation days. If you use holiday, like for example, this year, it's all the young people are on these days.
I have to look it up again, but according to most places, I think the Moshe was asked, and he says, yes, you have to use your vacation days.
I'm not going to be able to take off, but you're not going to be able to take off.
Of course you can take off, you're not going to get paid for it. That's what the Torah meant. Don't get paid. That's what.
You're not losing any customers. You lose some money.
You lose money.
It's similar to what you said about like a trial. Like I finals coming up, and the finals are going to be.
That's a dover ovid. Going to school and missing, that's called a dover ovid. I had a doctor who just called me.
Plus it's a mitzvah, it's not.
Yeah, I had a doctor who just called me, and he has to told me he's going to imagine this Shabbos from all times. He has to be on the conference, you know, the update, and it's a very important conference for his thing. And it's Friday, and he thought Shabbos will get away with it, and he can't get away with it. And I asked him, nothing. Just, I always tell these people, make sure you have your best Shabbos suit with you. You remember that it's Shabbos. Have your gold watch with you. You know what I mean? I remember it's Shabbos. You're sitting with a bunch of goyim, you know, and the writing, but you're allowed to sit and listen. You're doing it for your profession. You got a doctor, especially a doctor. If it's other business, you're not allowed to. A guy's going to a convention to know how to use the internet better. But to become what you're doing to go to school is okay.
If he's going to lose customers.
That is then you're allowed to.
Now, is there some sort
But not losing a customer, not losing new customers. Let's say you're not going to go in and you're afraid that maybe there'll be new customers you won't be able to help. You will lose existing customers.
No, so that being said, is there within your work, is there something you can't, I remember hearing some things you can't write, you could do this, but you can't write.
If it's a dover over, you're allowed to write. Today, anyways, no one writes. You write still?
Check.
Yeah, you everything in computer. Computer is okay. If you don't print anything, it's okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Computer you can write on Shabbat.
No, I didn't say that. Not talking about Chalamoid, not talking Shabbat Niyantav, Chas v'Shalom.
Losing money, but if you lose the money, you can't make rent, and that's an issue. Right. That's a significant
The
loss.
Yugoman is in such a dire place in Parnasa that he can't afford, he needs to earn that, if not, he won't have what to
Yeah,
eat.
that's another halacha. There's halacha is if a person doesn't have what to eat, then he's also allowed to work Chalamoid. But that is up to. But that's under discretion. What does it mean not to eat? Because let me tell you, I had a younger man recently by me, and he was complaining he doesn't make ends meet. So I tell him, you have the internet? Yeah, I still have the internet. And he takes out his phone, what is it called? The AT&T phone, the iPhone. So I tell him, how much does that cost? He said, turns out all the things that he thinks he really needs is not the thing he wants. So he unfortunately has the television with cable he has to pay, and unfortunately has the internet he's got to pay, and the iPhone he's got to pay, and so I don't have all this. I save a lot of money every month. It's like it's very hard to say nowadays. Sometimes people take the luxuries and say it is a need. Many of the luxuries not a need. That's why these things is up to a person has to judge. If a person cannot really pay his bills, he's allowed to work. It says in Shulchan Aruch. Yes.
I think my kavana for my desire to work on Cholamoid, I'm going to be this pace.
What do you do for a living?
I'm
He works in the garden.
Okay.
But I'm going to be off starting this Friday, then basically all next week, and then Monday, Tuesday, and it stresses me out intensely to think about if I don't go in and kind of juggle a few things, return a few phone calls. It's very stressful to come back and everything is like a week and a half, 2 weeks, closer to trial, closer to moving down the line.
What do you do for? I'm
I'm a defense attorney.
for the government
Yeah.
and
Criminals, not for the government.
for the criminals.
Luckily, I'm a public defender.
Sorry,
He works for the government. He works for the government.
I'm sitting next to Benny.
I say that you won't be stressed out if you don't go to work.
I think that's my thing about I really would like to go in a few hours on Cholamoid and just make sure that there's not work piling up.
Yeah, let me say another kula, which I don't like to say, but I'll tell you the truth. Your work you don't do anything. You just read. You do anything? What do you do? Honestly, I don't know. I'm not a.
You do halacha.
There's not a lot of work being done. What do? You just read.
Halachic work.
A lot of work. What exactly you do? You research. You look over the evidence. you research and you look it over and you think about it. I mean, not what are you exactly doing? I'm trying to understand. What are you doing?
But in that, I mean, all the questions do. Yeah, I would go through the files. Two of the files I got, Sue called me, they filled out a couple of investigation requests, put paralegal requests, had to send out some subpoenas, make sure that people are still working on getting materials and getting information. Things are still going.
All this, if you have someone else write it, you have a secretary, does the government give you a secretary to, I don't know.
I mean, I have to fill out, I have to fill out the secretary request form.
You have to fill out, you type it on the computer.
And email it?
Email it.
You're saying if I can avoid the actual.
Right, if you could email it, then it's better. Then you could do that.
So you can phone calls and
Phone calls and email. Email is not really writing.
So why, okay, so let's clarify the basics, let's go to the fundamentals. So what are the specific halachas that we should?
A malacha is writing. You're not allowed to write chalamoid. You're not allowed to cut chalamoid. Well, depends what. Carrying, you're allowed to drive because it's havora, you're allowed to do. And
If my wife is writing a list for the store,
that is the doer of it. Otherwise, Yishon Bayis is in trouble.
I should tell her better to type it out.
Let you email you the list. They go. But I'm saying that it's and going. The truth is, many Achronim hold that going in and really working on it. If it's real work, it shouldn't be done. But in your situation, it is not real malach. The only malach I hear what you're saying is you have to give a secretary. So why don't you just email her or how's it called? I am it. What is it called? How do you say in English? I am. Right. For your percent,
In your specific case, the rabbi is saying, not across the board.
What about driving?
You're not allowed to drive chalamoid. Why? Because driving, what is the malacha being done is havara. Most poskim hold the havara and atzor you're allowed to do on chalamoid. Just like yontif, havara is yontif. What is the problem with driving yontif? Is putting on the ignition. If the car is running, don't tell anyone. I said this to you, but you're not doing a malacha. It's making it the new fire, the old fire.
Slowing the brakes down is a problem.
What is the problem?
You diminish the fire.
It's indirect. It's a groma. I mean, I don't want to go into this. It's a groma. It's a long, complicated case. What? The lights go on. Yeah, so that's only a new light. That's really the problem. It's not. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. But Yontev is also to drive. Chalamoid, that's what you're allowed to drive. You know what you're not allowed to do chalamoid? Believe it or not, you're not allowed to go shopping. See, women love to go shopping, and they say, all of a sudden, there's a sale. So they're not shopping because the sale. They're shopping because they're bored. So they got to find to do something. The nature of a human person is when you're bored, you do something. So they go shopping.
What's wrong with shopping?
Shopping, you're not allowed to shop only for L'tzerech HaMoed. Only if you're going to wear it. You're not allowed to shop.
But I mean, people go on outings, go to trips, go to parks. All that costs money.
Yeah, but that is enjoying right now. That you enjoy that right now. But if you go to Disneyland and you buy a souvenir, you don't need it today. You want to just show your daughters or children want to show it off. You can't buy that.
So you could go shopping and buy some new food.
But if you buy it for the Chalamoid, Yontif, Tzedek HaMoed.
All the Pesach hotels that have these boutiques where they're selling silver, they're selling, shekels, they're selling.
If they're not going to use it, is a Issa Gomer. You have to put it on and really use it.
So they got a nice silver menorah there, you can't buy it.
Can't buy it. And if the shaitel, no one wears a shaitel off the rack, so you can't buy it.
Anyone here a lot of money? A lot of wives that know what's up on you? I have a question. One, are you
Shopping is already done before Pesach.
Yeah,
Are
but-
you allowed to sign credit card receipts? For example, if you're going to Disneyland.
You do it with your left hand.